I'm going to be in Jude 6. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you know, Jude is only one chapter. There are no other chapters other than Jude 1. I'm going to be in verse 6. Now, I want to deal with a theme that I have been dealing with over the last several weeks, which apparently, for whatever reason, was kind of popular. And it was having to do with the will of man, or the free will of man. But tonight I'm going to come at it from a different direction. But first, let me explain why this is such an important issue. The will of man and how we view man's will, particularly as it pertains to obtaining salvation. It is important for us to understand that the will of man has no desire to have salvation or to be connected to Christ. If man's interest could be persuaded within the confines of his will, Christ would never have needed to come to earth to die for our sins. There wouldn't have been no need. He could have just appealed to man's will and allowed those who had the presence of mind to academically flee to Christ, or to have a intellectual connection to Christ. If that was all that it took, Christ would never have needed to come. And then the free will of man, to me, is the spiritual version of Darwinism. Survival of the fittest. Free will of man is the Darwinian theory applied to the spirit realm. And here's what I mean by this. If you believe that man has the will to obey God, to come to God, to desire to come to Christ, apart from a sovereign work of God in his heart, then that means that the ability to exercise the will comes down to what is inherent within man. And it also comes down to which men have the better capacity to understand that they must flee to Christ. But without convoluting that part and getting too metaphysical, what I want to do is show you in a different way. Now in Jude, the book of Jude, verse 6, it says, "And the angels who did not keep their first estate, or who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode, God has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day." The angels who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode, or left their own habitation, God has reserved these angels in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day. So notice something in this verse in Jude 6, because we know that there are fallen angels, among whom is the leader of fallen angels, being Satan himself. We know that Satan, along with 1/3 of the angelic host, gave up their habitation, gave up their abode, lost their